You're welcome to the Vibes and Inshallah show today on Elegbete TV Radio. I am Hadassa Ajayi. And this conversation today is really juicy. I'm really excited for this one. And as always, I won't be doing it alone because as a broadcaster, my lecturer in school would say that you should have a little bit of knowledge about everything, but it's not quite possible that I will know everything about everything, if you know what I mean. And that is why I like to have experts who are, they're quite knowledgeable in this field so that they are adding to the knowledge that I have and everybody's learning something from it. So, except you've been living under a rock, again, I feel like I use that phrase a lot. Except you've been living under a rock, then you do know that there's this interview that everybody was seeing on the internet with Banky W, Adesua Wellington, Itomi, and Adesua Itomi Wellington, and Ebuka, where Banky W touched on his relationship with Wizkid, EME and all of that. And so it's brought to my knowledge that a lot of artists or upcoming artists or people who have dreams of making it big in the industry really don't know how the industry can be. And something I've learned from watching a lot of interviews is that a lot of artists who are producers, who not just producers but just artists, have come out to actually talk about the industry and the business side of it and how it's not always glamorous. People see the lights, camera and action. They see you with all of the young women hanging on your arms, the flashy life, the cars and everything, and they don't know that it's so much more than that. Now, for new artists looking to break out in the industry, a bad music contract can be the end of your career even before it begins. And that is why you need to be very careful when presented with the contracts by a label and management, because at the end of the day, your contracts might be more in their favor than yours. So, contracts. I'm not a lawyer. I am just a lowly radio TV presenter. So I have with me here an expert who we're going to be dissecting this entire conversation together, Emmanuel. And this one, y'all know I like to give you backstory. So Emmanuel and I have known each other for a while. We got to know each other through a friend. And when I was trying to figure out the right person to have this conversation with me, I called Okpeyemi, who is our mutual friend. I was like, Okpeyemi, I need an entertainment lawyer. Who am I going to talk to? And Okpeyemi was like, oh, like Emmanuel. I'm like, wait, what? Hello? Hello? Emmanuel, I need you on the show like ASAP, like yesterday. And here you are. Hi, Emmanuel. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing, bro?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for...
You've been very good.
Thank you. And you're not looking bad either. Thank you so much for coming today and taking the time out to be here. This conversation is quite important for upcoming artists or just artists that are yet to sign to a record label so that they make the right decisions concerning that. Now, I'm very particular and passionate about this because I also sometimes have upcoming artists on my show. I do something where we have creators, upcoming artists on the show where we play their songs and all of that. A lot of them are not even signed to any record label yet. Some of them are still like very independent and pushing themselves and all of that. So this is really important. We know a lot of artists that we have seen them fight legal battles with their management, record label, be embroiled in like the worst court battles that drag on forever and play out so messily in the media. International artists like Megan Thee Stallion versus 15 and 1 Certified Entertainment, Frank Ocean versus Def Jam, Michael Jackson versus Sony, Prince versus Warner Bros, Dr. Dre versus Death Row Records, and even Backstreet Boys versus Jive Zomba Recording Corporation. And I went further to search. Nigerian artists that have had issues with their labels include Kiss Daniel, now known as Kiss Daniel, versus G Worldwide. And that was, the change of name was actually because of the battle he had with his record label. We have Brimo versus Chocolate City. In fact, everybody's favorite, Asha versus Question Mark Records, which is not in existence anymore. Kelly Ansom versus Kenny's Music, Rugged Man versus Little Fish, Vector versus YSG, Runtown versus Eric Mani Records, and finally, the reason we decided to have this conversation, Wizkid and EME. I could go on and on and on and on. When I was researching the list, plenty die.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of people that you would not expect. So it's brought out a lot of burning question. And number one is, what are the kind of contracts an artist should sign that would help them have a successful career?
Okay. Usually when we look at the music industry generally, it's a mixture of those who are in business and those who have talent and passion, basically.
Yes.
And usually it's a big industry. The music, the entertainment industry generally, it's a huge industry. So 2021, it contributed over 4% to the Nigerian GDP. So even artists is basically signing a contract. One thing they should know that the fact that they are signing that contract means that they are getting into a business relationship with the label or any other counterparty, and they should approach it as such. That they're going into business. It means that they have to look out for themselves with regards to financials, with regards to the money they'll be getting, with regards to ownership of their work, their creative work.
Yeah, I'll be circling back to that.
So that is what artists should be looking out for generally, and that's what those clauses are actually contained in that contract. Right. So if we're looking at the Nigerian music industry, or if an artist is looking at signing a contract, they should be aware now that they are going into a business relationship, and they should begin in that sense now to approach that situation as such, as business, not necessarily then getting an avenue now to pursue their passion alone.
Yes. Speaking on that, you brought up Trademark. What should a new artist know about Trademark, trademarking their name? What else should they be trademarking? What should they know in general about Trademark?
Okay, so if we're looking at the music industry, we have an interplay of intellectual property rights, right? The music itself is intellectual property. The performance of their songs now is also intellectual property. The videos they create is intellectual property. Their name also, their stage name, is also intellectual property. And they're usually protected under different categories. One of them is trademark. We're looking at trademark. Trademark basically is that area of intellectual property that deals with names, logo, slogans, in some sense. So they have to also take steps to protect that name. Generally in music contracts, especially in when you just get a boilerplate contract, what artists do is that they basically sign off their names to their label to be able to trade with, right? So for instance, Cynthia Morgan, the Cynthia Morgan issue with a former record label.
Yes.
He essentially signed off a name to the label. The same thing with Keith Daniel too.
Yes.
It's an issue of trademark because he had to basically register and protect his name Keys. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
From
that
Keys
idiot.
to
Yes.
Keys,
Yes.
So one thing artists should be looking out for is that they have to be very careful in contracts not to sign off or transfer ownership of their name or their stage name to the record label. So that's what, in essence, how it plays out in the music industry.
Okay, so
it also applies to familiar slogans.
Oh, okay.
Right? For instance, I don't know if it's trademark, but the popular one that we're hearing, Zazu and all.
Yes.
It could also be a trademark, right? It could, and to properly protect it, it has to be registered with the trademarks registry to be able to take advantage of that. So I think those are things that actually comes under trademark. generally. So that's what it means
Okay.
in the broad sense.
Okay, so now that we've talked trademark, I want to ask about copyright. What are the differences between copyright and trademark? And who should be the copyright owner of an artist's body of work when signed to a label? Can an artist be stopped from using their name? You already talked about that a little. And performing their body of work if they are not registered copyright owner of said body of work. A good example is the other time during the Kids' Choice Award, despite the fact that Jojo Siwa, who is very, very popular, has worked with Nickelodeon a lot, there was a time she went on tour and Nickelodeon actually stopped her from performing her songs with them. Yes. So what's the difference between copyright and trademark, and how is an artist protected from, from somebody else registering their copyright?
Okay, so let's track back a little, right?
Okay.
First, let me just say the difference between copyright and trademark is that trademark basically deals with the protection of a person's creative work.
Okay.
With regards to creative, and that is literary, artistic work, right? Mm-hmm. And including written work, music, sound, paintings, generally. So in the music industry, there are different categories also.
Okay.
We have the sync rights, which looking at the written work, the composition itself, and we also have the production, looking at, let's say, the sound now from the producer. Those are copyrights, and together it basically makes the music. So there are different categories of copyright now. Mm-hmm. So together it becomes, so it means that in a particular body of work, several people basically own rights, so different rights in that sense. So let's say the artist who basically writes, the person, the writer first, the person who writes, like the songwriter,
yes,
as copyright to his or her
material that has been used.
Yeah, exactly. The artist who basically contributes his or her voice to that, who sings, as a copyright to that particular song. The producer who makes the sound as copyright to that also. So I think that's how it works. So trademark basically deals with names, slogans, logos, basic, generally images.
Okay.
Right. While copyright deals with work and creative work. Music, the sound, the written work, the literary work in that sense. So that's the
difference. Okay.
And another thing also is that for trademark to be protected, of course there is a general rule where, but usually for trademark to be protected, it has to be registered, right? It has to be registered with an approved government agency for you to have a right to that trademark.
What's the approved government agency for Nigeria?
In Nigeria, we have the Trademarks Registry under the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. It's a department there, right? But there's an exception to that when that particular work has achieved the level of notoriety in that sense. That means it has become so popular that you cannot say, this person does not have the right to use that name, especially with regards to trade. That means looking at time, how long they've been using that name, looking at how popular it is. But that's an exception. That's not the general rule.
Can I have an example for that one?
What example can we use now? We are looking at let's say that is for one that's there is a case though under Nigerian law. It's a company or what's this case? The case is not coming about. I'll remember when it comes back. So it's a company where let's say it's not coming actually. But it's a popular case, right?
All right.
But I'll give an example of how trademark works. So for instance, there is this Amala in Ibadan. This
Amala Sky, right? Yes.
Yeah. So there's this situation where they're saying that some other people went ahead to
put Amala Sky in Lagos. Yes,
in Lagos.
Yes.
Right. So if they basically get to register Amala Sky, and as a trademark, they get to protect that trademark. The original user of that name in Ibadan can raise that exception that this is my name. I've been using it for a long period of time. everybody knows it. This person just came ahead, just came to steal it, right? So that is how it basically that exception can work, with regards to Amala Sky.
Okay.
In that case now. But for copyright, like I was explaining earlier, for copyright, we are looking at the moment you create it, it becomes yours. You don't have to register it.
Okay.
Right? You don't have to register it for you to say, okay, this is mine. Of course, it is registrable in Nigeria.
Yes.
You can register it in Nigeria, right?
Okay.
Register it in Nigeria, but you don't have to register that work for it to be yours. What registration does is, in law, we call it, it gives you a prima facie right, or to show that, okay, this is mine. Like okay, proof to show, okay, it is actually mine.
Yes.
But if you can say, okay, I don't know how this person went ahead to register it, but I created it first. So that's with regards to copyright. So if you write the book, you don't have to register it for it to be yours, for you to have copyright in that work. But registering it gives you an advantage with regards to showing proof that the copyright is actually yours. You see the difference now.
Yes, I do
Trademark,
see the
you have to
difference.
register it to get it right.
Yes.
For copyright, you don't have to register it to get
okay.
have a right in that particular body of
okay,
work.
so
and another thing.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay, so another thing with regards to music contracts, earlier you asked the question earlier, and how it works is that there's usually a balancing act.
Okay.
Between because everything is in the contract. Once a record label presents a deal to an artist, what happens is that the artist begins to. Some artists are too eager, right? Because it's an opportunity for them. They need a platform, they need the money, and all, and they go ahead and they sign without really looking at the contract. I saw an Instagram video where Ashake was saying something about Olamide presenting a contract to him, YBN. I didn't even bother to read it or give it to him. He just signed.
He just signed.
It's an opportunity. Yeah, he's been waiting for, right? And yeah, it works that way, right? And you won't blame the artist because they don't want a case where what they've been fighting, what they've been wanting all their life just escapes them.
Just slipped your
hands. What they don't know is that they're actually signing off a lot of their intellectual property, especially in a predatory deal where basically the record label is taking everything. Maybe they're giving you 15% of royalties, right?
And that's how they can stop you from actually performing.
Yes, so they control, they can stop you from performing, looking at the contract. They can stop you from using your name in a manner not approved by the label. They can stop you from using your work. It's no longer. There are times that in a fair deal, like let's say in an indie, in a fair deal, right?
Yes.
They get to split 50-50. Maybe the record label basically retains ownership in the copyright for a particular period of time, right? And the artist basically agrees to that. And they sign off those rights. First, the opportunity, they have to take it, right?
Yes.
And the label also, it's a business for them. They have to make money, right?
Yes,
and
indeed.
They can't make money if they have a right to control where and how the artist performs, right?
Yes, indeed.
Looking at managing the brand, they have to make money also from the use of the work in commercials, right? When let's say we are saying
they use the song in a movie.
Let's say, movies, just like Fireboy having his song on the video game that is on FIFA, right? And
yes.
He made money from that, using their name on with regards to, let's say, promotional promotional material. So that's how they make money from the artist usually, and they need to have control, right, for a particular period of time for them to be able to make this money, because they're investing in the artist, they're pouring money into the artist, so they have to make their money, right? So I think that's what the balancing thing is about. The artist looks at it and, okay, if you are, let's say it's an upcoming artist, usually is more amenable to want to take any deal that is offered by a reputable record company.
Yes.
Or label in that sense, and they just jump at it and they sign. Maybe when they are now growing up, maybe they are now very popular in the industry, they have a huge name, and they're not trying to reclaim
Renegotiate the
those.
terms of the contracts.
Exactly. That's when we start hearing of these issues like they cheated me, they did this to
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's business for them. But it ought not to be like that, right?
Yeah.
There are things they can do to protect themselves, but yeah, but that's how it is basically in the industry.
Okay, so speaking of, are there performance rights organizations in Nigeria that artists have to register with?
Yes, there are performance rights organizations in Nigeria.
Okay.
We have COSON, right?
Okay.
We have COSON, and we also have what's the name again? There are two popular ones in Nigeria. And usually when they register with these organizations, what these organizations do is that they follow up with regards to getting royalties from let's say when it's used on radio, for instance, and when it's used in popular hangout spots, they go to them, okay, use this song, they have to pay us this particular percentage on royalties used. They follow up with regards to let's say when it's used on television stations and also these organizations basically follow up, and they also protect. It's also like a body where they all come together to protect themselves, right? And so their performance right. It's also provided also in the Copyright Act. It's imperative that we have this organization. It is actually important that we have these organizations in Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
So that's it basically.
All right. Using the case of Wizkid versus EME as a perfect example, it was said that one of the reasons that Wizkid actually left the label is because of the unfavorable sharing formula, where he was getting 25% of what he made. So what is the fair percentage for an artist to demand from the record label?
So the fair percentage, well, that's I think 25% is fair.
Is it?
That's yeah. I think 25% is fair.
Wait, the record label is taking an entire 70%.
I'll explain. Let me explain.
Please do.
So, yeah, I mean 25% of royalties for the period of the contract.
Yes.
Yeah, I think for a record label it's fair because we have to look at it from the side of the label. It's a business for them, right? And except the artist basically contributes to everything else. Let's say that's surprising. I understand that it sounds unfair, right? It sounds
25% is really small,
right? But if we look at it globally, it's small. 25% is small, but we look at the practice globally, right? So it depends on you take it case by case on a case by case basis.
Okay.
So when Wizkid signed for EME, like when he got on the label, he was still, nobody knew him. He was still green.
Yes.
Right?
Indeed.
He was still fresh. He was upcoming. Right? And usually the label invests everything. They provide for everything the artist needs.
Yeah, Banky W mentioned that they were living with him at one point, feeding and everything.
Absolutely. They provide everything. They even give an advance in some cases where they basically pay an advance.
Yes, I did read that. I did read that.
Yeah. So all those basically are things the label provides. So it's an investment coming from their end, right? And as the deal progresses, because one, it's an investment that it's either win or bust. It's also a risk from their end. So they don't know if this artist is going to blow at the end of the day.
True.
But they're investing in this artist, right?
Yes.
And when it blows up and becomes a legend like Wizkid, now that's a different ball game. That's the case of Wizkid actually, where they renegotiated the contract, right?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So where they renegotiated the contract, that's the best thing that can happen. And if you look at that's the way the music industry is. It's business for them because they have to make sure that their overheads, they're not shooting above budget. They have to make sure that there's money in their account. They have to make sure that the artist is provided for with regards to feeding. They have to make sure that they are paying staff, they are paying producers, they are paying everyone that needs to be paid.
Music directors.
How they get that done? Yeah, how they get that done is what we now begin to look at the particular situation. It's on a case-by-case basis. But in the case of Wizkid, I feel that's why I'm saying that 25% of it has to, let's say, payment from royalties. Okay, it depends. Cynthia Morgan, for instance, she was getting 50%, but she sold all her rights to the label. Wizkid is lucky in the sense that he was able to come out with his name, right? He was able to use his name. Some artists are unable to use their names because basically
they've sold the right to it.
Signed that off.
They've signed that off.
That's why artists should. It's not just about the money they are getting. They also have to look at other things. They have to look at it long term, right? Okay, I'm going into this deal. I'm going to be getting 25%, 30%, even 50%. But what am I giving in return? Right?
Yeah.
Am I getting a right in my intellectual property, in my copyright, the songs I make? Will I be making money from my songs in the next 10, 20, 30 years?
What about merchandise too?
Yeah, merchandise also. That's also how they make money. The label makes money. So they can decide, they negotiate it. Okay, for merchandise, the artist can, so because maybe take 30% or they split 50-50 or
they don't get anything at all.
Or they don't get, and that's a bad deal when they don't get anything on merchandise. So they have to basically earn on every income stream.
Wow.
Right? It's not just they have to earn. Okay, and another thing they can do is when you are negotiating the contract, you have to basically talk to the label. Is this going to be a licensing arrangement where, let's say, okay, I'm going to produce, let's say, 5 albums in the case of Wizkid, right? And he 5 albums, he was able to that.
Yes.
Until we negotiate the contract, right? And because for these 5 albums, right, I'm going to license it to the label. It's not going to be an assignment where you get ownership of it. It's going to be a license where you get to benefit from it for a particular period of time. Let's say 10 years. After 10 years, I get back 100% ownership. Right?
Yes.
Or I have a right to buy back my music at this particular percentage or amount after the end of a particular period of time. That's why I said it's business. So they have to begin to, it's not emotional, it's not a matter of passion alone. It's also business, right? Because the label has to make money and that's how the label also improves their valuation from the body of intellectual property work they have in their possession, right? From their artists. Let's say, okay, we have Wizkid's catalog for, I'm sure EME has that. Let's say right to Wizkid's whole albums, the first 2 albums.
Yes.
And imagine how much they are making on that.
On that,
even
yes.
Now that
Even
them,
yes.
Right? And which can say, okay, let me buy you. I just like Kanye did with his former record label.
Yes.
You had to basically buy everything out, right? So they could think of that long term, but they have to also look at it. Okay, I'm a label. I have to make money. What do I do? Right? So it's about negotiation and balancing it. Okay, you don't have a right to, for me, basically, this is my rule of thumb. If I'm advising an artist,
that was going to be my last question for you. So my last question is, as an entertainment lawyer yourself, if you have a client who comes to you now, you have an artist that comes to you and like, okay, Emmanuel, I want you to be my lawyer, my representative. What would be your advice to the artist? What would you want for the artist in their contracts? Yes, and what should that contract consist of, basically, so ensure that they have a successful lifelong career, one that pays even when they are not doing it full term anymore?
Absolutely. So for a label, right? If I'm advising an artist,
as the artist representative.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm representing an artist, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
4 things actually I look out for.
Okay.
I look out for the money.
Okay.
I look out for the opportunities. I look out for the artist's freedom, and I also look out for ownership.
Okay.
Right. That is how I look at advising the artist. In that, those are the clauses I look out for. So for the money now, I look out for how much will the artist be getting, right?
Okay.
From this deal.
Okay.
Looking at royalties now, percentages. What income stream will the record label be benefiting from? There are deals that are called the 360 deals, for instance, where the record label says, okay, for every income stream, anyhow you make money, we're going to get money from it. So if you're appearing in a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to make money from that movie. For merchandise, we're going to make money. So it's not a problem. You want to make money. So what's the percentage split now?
Yes.
I think that also needs to be negotiated.
Mm-hmm.
Some artists just sign contract and they sign on 360 deals. For me, that's bad. You have to negotiate each income stream. So for instance, for performance, the revenue comes from performance. How do we split it? Is it 50-50? Is it 75-25? For merchandise, is it 70-30? Is it 50-50? Right? So I think for this kids deal, I've not seen the contract, but I think it was a 360 deal.
Okay.
And it was 25%.
Okay.
And that was not good.
So that was the problem. Good. Okay.
Yeah, but generally, 25% for royalties alone is fair.
It's not
one
so
of the
bad.
other income stream, right? Another thing I look out for, like I said, I look out for opportunities. If you are taking on this deal, what do you get in return?
Okay.
Will it make you an household name, or will they just sign you and just keep you at the back without rejecting you?
That was the problem with Frank Ocean. Frank Ocean's album, the first album, he talked about how it wasn't promoted enough, and that was one of the things that happened. They said the album was too old or something, it had too old vibes, and then they didn't push him as much as they were supposed to, and then later on he finally got himself out of he paid for a couple of albums by himself, and then when they saw that do well, then I think it was Def Jam, they were trying to now promote him, and then somehow he got out of the deal. And they couldn't use the last album, actually. He played them. It was chess. Absolutely. It was a game of chess he played with them. He did. So, yeah, I get it.
So those are things I also look out for that. How does this affect your opportunity? So you see why artists have to go to lawyers.
Yes.
To help them look at the contract.
That is why we have you here.
Help them negotiate the deal.
Yes.
Look at how does it affect you. Can this stop you from doing other things you're passionate about? Or is that maybe you're passionate about humanitarian work? Can this stop you from doing that? Can they control your time at every point in time? Right? Can they tell you go here, don't go here? Unreasonably, right?
Yes.
So can they tell you not to partner with certain organizations, let's say, that would basically promote your name and your brand? So you have to look out for those opportunities, because there are restrictive clauses in contracts that actually stops artists from doing certain things.
So that's what it's called, restrictive clauses.
Yes. So we have to look at that also. So for freedom, that we're looking at creative control. And I think that was one thing that happened with Wizkid also.
Okay.
Because he was thinking in another direction that may not be the direction of the label. He was looking at, I want my sound to be this way. Some labels won't accept that. Just like you mentioned about Frank Ocean, like it's not good enough.
Yes.
So we negotiate, because looking at creative control, who makes the final decision? How the decisions be made with regards to how the artist puts out his or body of work.
I think it's the same. It was the same thing with this person, this Hausa lady that I signed with Don Jazzy. What's her name again? Dija. Yes, she was talking about how there was this video she did with, I think it was MTV, where they told her to wear a particular outfit, and I think that was one of the things she negotiated in her contract, about how she wanted to be dressed a particular way. She didn't want to show her body and all of that, and she's like, I told them this wasn't for me and all of that. So yeah, I get the freedom part now.
Yeah, so clauses like that actually have to be, and the last one, which I think is also very, very important, if not the most important than the money, is ownership. Because this determines whether or not you will reach.
Is this where masters?
Yes, masters.
Oh,
comes
okay.
in, ownership of the masters, whether you will reach long term, right? Most artists basically sign off
their masters. Yeah, it's a problem Taylor Swift has too. Taylor Swift has had to fight so hard for her masters. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And the same thing with Sonny Ade. He had issues with that also.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's an old case.
Ooh.
Yeah, so this is, and it happens. It's a regular occurrence in the music industry, right?
Okay.
So because they give you a contract, you have to negotiate. Okay, but the masters, is this going to be an assignment? Assignment means you're giving the label ownership, or is it going to be a license?
Oh, okay.
Are you looking at, okay, giving it to them for a particular period of time,
and then you get
or
it
for
back?
the period of the deal, or a period of time after the deal comes to an end, right?
Wow.
So the artist should be looking at, in all cases, retaining ownership in their work.
Great.
Right? They should look at retaining ownership in their work in all cases, because this determines your long-term income. That's why we have artists who blew up at a particular point in time
And are now broke. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because,
wow.
Yeah, so that's
there is a lot to learn, a lot to unpack, and I feel like every artist out there should actually look at this and watch this. There's a lot to learn, and
absolutely.
there is the very cogent advice, the very important lesson here, that whenever it is you get your contracts, do not sign it on the spot. Ensure that you give it to a lawyer. You have a representative who is actually working to your advantage, who is going to ensure that your contract is to your benefit. So yeah, thank you so much, Emmanuel, for taking the time to share your expertise with me, to share your knowledge. You need to give the people your contact, so that anybody that wants to reach you can reach you, and if they have any more questions, they want you representing them, they can definitely do that.
Okay.
So your Instagram handle, your name, and then your number.
Okay, my name is Emmanuel Inyada.
Okay.
You can reach me on Ima Inyada. Inyada is spelled INYADA @gmail.com. That's my personal email address.
Okay.
And you can reach me on Instagram or Twitter, Mo_Inyada. Mo is MO _INYADA.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's good then. Thank you so much for taking the time out, Emmanuel. I will be talking to you after the show. Don't worry. I'm coming. I'm coming. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And you too.
All right, bye. Okay. Well, guys, there you have it. A lot has been said. A lot has been learned. I hope that if you have somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that is planning to become an artist, that is trying to break into the industry, don't go and use hot blood, your chest. Just like, oh my God, this person gave me contracts, I want to go and sign it. It's like, learn from the lessons of people in the past, people who, in fact, I'm telling you that Asha had problems, Prince had problems, Dr. Dre had problems with their label. You don't want to be that person, especially when you can actually mitigate all of these things and just not have it happen to you because you made the right decision for you. So get you a lawyer, my dear. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I'll see you again next time. We're going to have a conversation that, of course, is trending, but there's something to learn from it. Of course, I'm your host, Hadassah Ajayi, and sayonara. Bye.
You are listening to Elegbete TV Radio.